folks. I'm going to do a very, very quick review of the latest Pixar movie. And, I really haven't seen a whole lot of movies so far this summer. I saw The Avengers, saw Pitch Perfect 2. I thought they were just kind of mediocre at best. A lot of the other movies, haven't seen the Jurassic Park, haven't seen Mad Max, haven't seen any other stuff. So I really can't comment much on this season's cinematic fare. That said, I'm pretty sure we're not going to see a better movie at the Cineplex this year, or at least this summer anyway, than Inside Out. This is just a flat-out great movie, very inventive, very well structured, great plot, a really great narrative, did a lot of things unique, did a different approach, a different angle than most animated feature films from the era. Just an all-around great movie. I absolutely loved it. As far as I'm concerned, it's the best Pixar movie since Toy Story 3. And you know what? Maybe this is kind of kick-starting the next great wave of Pixar movies. So anyway, the thing about this movie, why it works, it starts off with a core premise. And that's this idea that, is just a society as a whole. We tend to view things from something called a biologically determinist lens. That is, we kind of think that nature kind of dictates all. And the thing that really makes this movie effective to me is that it kind of goes the opposite route, just saying, there's actually quite a bit of interplay between nature and nurture, and perhaps one's experiences actually shape who they are developmentally and perhaps even neurologically. And this is something, I don't want to get into the really hardcore science, but if you're into psychology, especially in the field of neurology and pharmacology, you kind of know that there's more and more evidence piling up every day that says environmental factors do have a much greater role on how we develop over the years neurologically, in terms of stressors affecting our hippocampus and our cortical matter, things like that. So it's very much rooted in reality, and this is a film that kind of goes against the cultural milieu. It's saying, maybe it's not all biologically driven. Maybe we're not just hardwired physiologically. Maybe the things that happen to us do indeed have a big role in determining who we are as people. And that's really just the core of the movie. That's pretty much what the movie as a piece of art is actually saying. And it's such a weird time we live in. That's kind of considered controversial, that having any sort of suggestion that perhaps a societal influences could have any sort of shaping on the way people view the world or how they view themselves. And that's what makes Pixar great, because they go against the trend. They cut against the zeitgeist, and this is one of their finer works in that category. Now, as far as putting up against other films, I think it's great. I think it's better than Monsters University, years ahead of Cars 2 and Brave. I think it's just slightly a step down from Wreck-It Ralph and the Lego Movie, but not by much. It's still a really great movie. There are some indulgence here and there. The whole subplot about joy and sadness kind of coming together. It's kind of telegraphed. You kind of know where it's headed. So they have this sort of manufactured rivalry where, no one really understands why sadness is necessary, and she keeps messing things up. And it's going to end up proving pivotal and, important as a plot point. So that kind of drags a bit. And, I don't know, there are some parts where the main character's full nostalgia about Minnesota. Those kind of tend to drag for a little bit longer than probably should. But overall, it's just a great movie. The acting's terrific, the visuals are dynamite, but really it's the creativity. It's the fact that the guys at Pixar actually went up there and said, let's make an animated movie about Daniel Dennett's Cartesian Theater. Who would have imagined that would have got greenlit, let alone make a great movie? And, I kind of said this earlier, the fact of the matter is, you got Pixar basically recycling an idea from an old Fox sitcom called Herman Ted. Why not they go back to the well and see what else they can kind of pull out from Fox back in the day? Maybe they can make a really great animated movie about Drexel's Class, or what was in that one show about the apocalypse? You have to be really, really into obscure media if you know what I'm talking about. I think it's called Whoops. Anyways, way back in the early 90s. But yeah, it's just a really great movie all the way around. I'm a huge psychology nerd, so I know pretty much all the stuff they're doing here about the old dream imagery. I like to joke about teeth falling out. The actual room where they actually go in there and look at analytical thought and deconstructionism, I thought was just terrific. Yeah, this is just such an intellectual movie. Way, way, way smarter than most movies coming out nowadays, targeting an adult audience, which is impressive and sad simultaneously. So, I don't know, what more can I say about Inside Out? It's just great, you know. I love the things about the Bing Bong, kind of a great Drop Dead Fred homage, in a way. I'm not saying it was directly influenced by that, but I'm saying it could have been. Lots of really great jokes in there. I love, the part where the kid walks up to the main character and starts freaking out because his brain's just registered girls, 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 and, of course, if you're a prepubescent boy, you know what to do. The joke about the toothpaste commercial was great because I feel the exact same way about the old Mentos jingle. I'm trying to think about it right now. Good job there. It's just a really good movie. Very, very intellectual. You know, the fact that they made a animated comedy about the concept of homonuclei is just absolutely astounding. And gives me hope for the future of mainstream cinema. You know, I go on and on about how, contemporary pop culture, especially the Hollywood construct, is bad. But you know what? Every now and then they get it right, and we get really good stuff like this. And you know what? This might actually be worth the 80, 90 million they spend on it. Just a really good all-around movie. Now, before we conclude, Inside Out. When I look at this movie, do I see it perhaps as something of a sly social commentary on anything? Well, we all know the guys at Pixar are fairly conservative. And the fact the movie takes place in San Francisco and it's about gender identity development. I think there might be something going on there, but that's neither here nor there for me to discuss. Too controversial. That, and I really need to kind of outline my evidence before I go any further. But one thing I do like about this movie, I think this is kind of the central message, the Aesop of the entire thing, is, you look at kids nowadays, just how many of them are just strung out on psychotropic medication. I know it sounds like a stretch now, but hear me out. You got kindergartners on ADHD medication. You got the first graders on antidepressants. You've got kids on stuff for bipolar disorder. And the fact of the matter is, I think we're kind of growing up in an environment where kids have no understanding that emotions, even the quote-unquote negative ones, are necessary, that they're good. That just because something makes you feel bad doesn't necessarily mean it's negative. It needs to be stamped out. I think the central message of Inside Out is, you know what? It's not only is it all right to feel the gamut of emotions, disgust, sadness, anger, all this stuff. Not only is that okay, it's necessary. I mean, it's kind of the entire, premise of the movie towards the end, when the coalesced sad and joyous memories kind of fuse together and form nostalgic memories. It's necessary. It's a part of life. And I think that maybe in a very, 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 very furtive manner, Pixar's kind of commenting on perhaps the over-medication of our kids, or at least sort of this prevailing psychological attitude that, these kids need to be basically cordoned off from their own emotions because they're too strong. But like I said, it's controversial. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's just kind of what I took away from it. Maybe you got something else from it. But that's the thing I like about these movies. Lots of room for interpretation, and it's just really, really intelligent fare. If you got a family, as I go see this, it's probably going to be more intellectual than Minions, that's for sure. But I really liked it. This is the kind of movie I want to see more of from Hollywood. Something very smart, something with a countervailing cultural message, and something that just in the day is just very entertaining and amusing, and also a little bit enlightening. So Pixar, good job. If you haven't seen the movie, go out and see it. It's really great, and I look forward to more stuff in the future.